Good evening, everyone. Welcome to our Lunc AMA. The focus today is going to be the community desk. We'll have Fafi on. Lunac's got a couple of guests to talk about update from Terra Rebels. So I'm going to bring him on as well. So let's bring on our guests and co-hosts. So Lunatic is our co-host with myself. Let me bring on Lunatic. And Echelon and Yogabba, you guys might know, they're also coming up. Let me bring them up. Lunatic, how's it going, mate? Lunatic, can you hear me, mate?
Now it works. Hi, everyone.
Your sound's not very clear. Do you want to try again?
Yeah. Let me go upstairs. I think I'm outside, and I'm a bit sick, so it might also be because of that.
It's okay. Oh, Ed's here. Hi, Ed. Thanks last week for your updates.
Just waiting. Is my mic working? Yogabba speaking.
Yeah, Yogabba, we can hear you well.
Okay, that's good.
And then Echelon, I've not spoken to you before. Welcome to our spaces, mate. Look forward to speaking to you.
Thank you.
So, shall we wait like 2 minutes? I just posted in the Terra Rebels Discord. I think some people might want to join before we start talking about it.
Yeah, we can wait 2 minutes. Echelon, do you want to introduce yourself? I think I've not spoken to you before. Just a quick background of how you're involved with Lunc, what you're doing, and just a quick update for listeners. Fafi's here now. We'll invite Fafi as well. Hey, Fafi.
Hey, guys. How are you?
Yes, good. Last week, you sort of introduced us your community desk. It'd be good to get into more of the details. I think 0x has got a few questions as well. So we'll go into a bit more of the details of how we're actually going to get it work, timescales and all that. So look forward to speaking to you today.
Cool, thanks. Yeah, Sam.
Lunatic, do you want to just start off? Are you ready to start?
I think he was going somewhere upstairs.
Yeah, he said he was going upstairs. Well, myself and Lunatic wanted to hear from yourself and Echelon first about the funding proposal. So we wanted to spend 20 minutes, 10, 15 minutes on that first, and then move on to the community desk. So if you're ready to start, we can start now, or we can give Lunatic another minute or so.
Yeah, I'm also fine. I'm upstairs. Is it better with my voice, or is it still unclear?
No. We can hear you, mate. I can hear you. So do you want to start us off, Lunatic? You wanted to start off with Yogabba and Echelon first?
Yeah, so let's get it started. So we have this proposal up right now, right? 11030, I think, is the number. It's about separation from TFL infrastructure, and there's been a lot of discussions around it, and I thought it's probably good to let Echelon, who's actually I think the main guy who's going to implement the infrastructure, to let him actually talk about it and explain what it's all about, because I think there's a lot of confusion, right?
Yeah, I believe I can clear that up. Just in case anyone doesn't know who I am, I'm one of the co-founders of Terra Rebels, and I also do code and NetOps, so I handle infrastructure. This proposal is to separate us from the TFL infrastructure, including any of their apps or JavaScript libraries, NPM packages. So right now, their TFL is working on a new wallet interchange station. This wallet will not, as far as I know right now, include Luna v1 in it. We're not without a prefix change. So with that being said, we decided to clone off Terrastation into Rebel Station. By doing so, we want to change the infrastructure as well. So all the endpoints, the LCDs, the FCDs, asset repos, just anything that points to the terra.money or terra.dev domains, that will be replaced with terrarebels.net. Any of the content will be migrated over, and so forth. So with that, it's going to take quite a bit of code changes to get that done, considering you've got all the station apps such as Extension, Desktop, the web one. You also have all the JavaScript libraries like terra.js, Wallet Provider. So that all needs to be changed, needs to be tested. Then there's also a custom API that we originally requested and got denied, but over time, TFL came back and said that they would provide that. However, there is some proprietary information in it, which means they have to strip all that out, like passwords and whatever sensitive information. So the stripped down version that they will hand over to the public is, it sounds like it's going to be broken and it's going to need to be reworked. So there's going to be time involved in that. May just end up just creating a whole new API and then having to test that and implement that. The infrastructure itself, it's not just as simple as spinning up an LCD and an FCD and saying thank you. You've got to plan the infrastructure for growth, scalability. So the specs, they're kind of all over the place as to what's required for the LCDs and the archival nodes and the FCDs. There's even some other vague stuff like Wallet Connect and whatnot. So we're trying to nail down what those specs actually are. We do not know what the traffic is going to be like either, so we want to plan for that. Archival nodes take a ton of space, so that needs to get planned for. So there's just a lot of planning that needs to be done, and even then you want to kind of add some extra growth on top of that just to be sure. So that's kind of what this proposal is aiming at, to get it done in a 2-month period. It's just going to take a lot of work. There's a lot of unknowns. We didn't write the software, so when we're going into this, we're kind of going half blind. We kind of got to figure out the flow of it, how the JavaScript libraries all interconnect. And then again, it's just a whole whack load of testing, custom API coding. Some stuff's going to get changed. Obviously, we want to default things to Classic. And then, yeah. So that's pretty much the prop in a nutshell.
Yeah, thank you. Was pretty good summary. Sorry, Yoga.
It's okay. I also wanted to add what it means, like from the front-end applications perspective, right? Because as stated by Jared, all Classic-related application, they will be just legacy. What it means, like they're not gonna support it. Like I asked him 2 specific questions during one of the AMAs. He was present, and first one was, are they gonna host the new station themselves? Is it gonna be like, what's gonna happen with the station.terra.money subdomain currently? Like it's just gonna change into new interchain wallet, right? So that means the current application will be just packed, the latest version of it, and delivered to community. That's what was said by Jared. And they're not gonna merge any pull request done by community to those repositories. So basically, it's if we want to develop it further, we want to add something new, like it's not gonna be assisted by TFL. What basically there is, except forking it from the repository, like there is nothing else what we can do, right, to continue developing it. So until we manage to find a way to get to parity with version 2, well, basically every code updates needs to be done by community. So that's.
Thank you. So let me ask you guys a question, because I've followed like the discussions, and I've seen probably some misconceptions people had about this. You guys are really technical, right? I'm a little bit technical. Maybe for non-technical guys, it's hard to grasp like what it is about and what implications it might have to not do this, right? To not separate. So first of all, from what I understand, the first misconception is like, oh, this is just a copy paste of a wallet, right? Why do we need another wallet, right? We already have one. It's kind of working, whatever. So basically you're separating the whole infrastructure, the invisible backend, so to say, right? It's not like if you translate it to a, let's say, YouTube app, it's not that you create a second YouTube app that you can like download from the Android store or App Store, Apple Store, I don't know how it's called with Apple. It's more about the backend, right? All the servers that are running YouTube, delivering the videos, content delivery, all that stuff, right? Handling the traffic.
Yeah, so TFL's primary focus right now obviously has shifted. It's now focused on Luna V2. So with that being said, the infrastructure that runs the existing Terrastation, they intend to all best intent and purposes, get rid of it over time. What that means is that once a new infrastructure comes in place, such as ours or whoever puts one up, as soon as there's a stable one in place, they will eventually end up sunsetting that infrastructure. The Terrastation that exists now is going to be legacy, which means someone else is going to have to maintain it. And to maintain it, you're going to have to submit pull requests to TFL's GitHub repo. And again, their focus is not on V1, so when those pull requests come in, they might not get actioned right away. And they have to get reviewed. Not everything's going to get accepted. And that's the gist of it there. That's why we decided to do Rebel Station, because we want to be completely separated. We don't want to have to deal with the wait times and possibly have stuff that, you know, we feel that's great ideas that can be added in, or maybe the community feels is great ideas that can be added in. We don't want to have to go through a review board for that kind of stuff. We would prefer to be the last person in the mile.
Makes sense to me. Also, something that I just noticed, I think 2 days ago, is that your proposal, like the Terra Rebels proposal, it actually got whitelisted, right? And no other recent proposal got whitelisted actually. And I think how that works is that you submit a pull request to the assets repo, and then TFL whitelists or merges the pull request, accepts it. And then the stuff gets whitelisted, and it should be a hint for everybody that this one got whitelisted immediately, right? It's like prominently on top, so it hints us to TFL also like encouraging us to separate and basically go our own path. Is that a right assumption, you think?
I would say that's a good assumption to make. And as you can see, we already have control over our own assets repo, which is where the whitelisting happens. That's why we're able to whitelist it right away.
But that's for Rebel Station right now, right?
That's for Rebel Station. In order to get it whitelisted, you have to put in a pull request at TFL for their Terrastation.
All right. Rocko, do you want to ask something?
Yeah, I've got a couple of questions. So non-technical questions. So people that are invested in LunaClassic, they don't know as much about the details. I know. Thank you to Yogabba and yourself for the technical update. But they've been hearing about IBC being parity, Cosmos chain, and all those words past few weeks. How does this move affect that? So they're worried. Are we going away from that? I understand that this is required because of the update from TFL and the Terrastation wallet update that they're doing, but some people are worried about the IBC change, and this is maybe a bit contradictory.
Well, as far as the IBCs go, those are going to be through Interchain Station at this moment once they put out their release. Luna V1 will not be a part of that due to the prefix change that's a requirement of that and the parity. So the reason why we turned down doing the prefix change is because as easy as it sounds, just making the code changes, there's also issues that it would cause with smart contracts. All the smart contracts would basically have to be reminted. So that's a tremendous migration and not something that we felt that could be done in the 3-week period. Plus, there's also other unknown factors because there's never been anything on the Cosmos chain where a prefix has ever been changed. It's never been done. So there's no way of knowing what the effect that will have across the chain. So just for these two reasons alone, we decided to opt out of doing the prefix change. We may very well just add IBC support right into Rebel Station. It just won't support V2.
Can you maybe explain for the audience what the prefix actually is? Because I don't think everybody knows.
Yeah, I think this is the confusion because in simple minds to myself and from what I see on Twitter especially, they think prefix change is quite simple, but I know it's a bit more detailed. So could you explain it in simple terms maybe?
So the prefix, yeah. So Luna V1 originally had on your wallet address that prefix is Terra. And when they decided to start the Luna V2 chain, for whatever reason, they kept the prefix, right? So that's what's causing the problem. So what they've requested or stated that we could do was change the prefix to like Terra C, and they want to keep the Terra prefix. So that's the problem. That's the problem.
Yeah, I also wanted to ask you, because how this new interchain wallet works, the prefix of the wallet, so those first few letters, that defines where the money goes to IBC, right? So doesn't really have, I think, to choose the correct channel because the wallet name itself already is an indicator when the money should go. And in our case, it could technically go both sides, and that means there is gonna be I think that's basically based on double spending problem, and then poof, it most likely not.
Sorry to interrupt, Yogabba. I don't know if you. Sorry to interrupt, Yogabba. Your mic's a bit unclear. Do you want to speak away for a bit? It was a bit clanky. Your microphone.
Your microphone.
How is it much better now, or? I will just swap to phone because I think that's the emulator problem.
Yeah, that might fix it.
Is it better now?
That might fix it.
Okay,
yeah,
I
there's
will be
also
back.
a double voice. I can hear myself on yours. Maybe just use the phone. I think that might be better, Yogabba. I think he's reaching.
Yeah, I think he's switching devices right now.
Epsilon, if I ask another, these questions might be quite dumb, but if we don't do the prefix change in the future, further down the line, could there be other negative impacts to LunaClassic chain if we don't do that change?
No, the only thing you won't be able to do is IBC with V2, but that's it as far as we can see at this moment. So.
Okay, no, that's fine. Is Yogabba's back? Let's bring him on. You want to try again, Yogabba?
Yeah, so basically what I was trying to explain, how this prefix works now and what it does, because with this new interchain station, interchain wallets, the prefix define where the money goes. So if Luna 2.0 and 1.0 keeps the same prefix, the system can't really like decide where the money will be sent, right? So that can cause problems because, well, money can basically disappear or cause some different sort of issues, right? So that's why they don't allow us to be a part of it with the same prefix like Luna 2.0. I hope that clarifies a little bit what it means.
Yeah, I think that makes a bit more sense. Thanks for that, Yogabba. Luna 80, have you got a question for Yogabba or Echelon?
Hello, everybody. I got a question. Maybe it's not related to this AMA. I just wondered, what is the limit of amount of wallets that you can have on a multi-sig wallet?
That I honestly do not know, but I mean, that's what the index, when you go to create a new wallet and it has the bottom there index, you can just change that, and every time you change it, you basically have a new wallet.
I don't know. I think it's the question of how many signers maximum can be, but that
on a multi-sig?
Yes, exactly. Thank you, Yogabba, for rephrasing the question easier, simpler.
I think we've had, like, I know on our donation multi-sig, I think we had like 10 people, maybe more. So it can handle quite a bit.
But the maximum amount I actually personally don't know. I can try to research it.
That would actually help me out a lot. I would like to know if it's possible to have 400 signers pretty much on a multi-sig wallet.
That's quite a bit.
Okay, coming back to the separation proposal, the TFL infrastructure. Any questions on that, Lunatic or anyone, before we move on to Fafi?
Yeah, I've like one or two more for Echelon actually, because like I'm just rephrasing stuff that I've read and witnessed people saying about it. So people get really upset about the the amount you quoted, let me call it like this, from the spend proposal, right? It's like $150,000 roughly, depending on the current price of LunaClassic, of course. And I don't want to argue about the amount because it doesn't make sense to argue about it, in my opinion, right now at least, where we stand with the chain. However, I've heard a concern from people, and maybe you can address that for me, Echelon, which is, let's assume the proposal goes through, right? I personally would like to see it go through. I don't mind paying $150K for it. But what I've read from people is that they're confused about how the ongoing maintenance will be, right? So, like, I assume that you are not hosting with AWS or something like that, because that's probably pretty expensive. Like, you don't need to go into detail how you host it, but what people are concerned about is if we separate from TFL right now and we basically use the infrastructure that you provide, what's going to happen in 2 months after this time period is over? I'm saying this because, let's be real, we're a broke-ass chain, and I hope like Fafi's proposal is going to change that, and the 10.983 is also going to change it a little bit. But let's assume that we basically 2 months later have the infrastructure separated. TFL has basically sunset. If they do that, we don't quite know yet, but I think it's not unrealistic to assume. What will happen then? Like, do you keep this running? Is it like, in the worst case, did you calculate to run it for a couple of months at least to give the community time to be able to further fund it? Like, how is this going to work? Because this is not really clear for a lot of people, and I think it's it's an issue for them to vote yes when they don't know about the future, right? And I know that you cannot completely, you have no glass ball, right? You cannot predict all of the costs coming, but do you have a rough estimation? How long can you keep it running like this in the worst case?
Well, I don't understand why there's confusion, because I'm not sure where people are seeing this maintenance in this proposal. There is something that says ongoing technical support of the suite of wallet and Finder applications, but that has nothing to do with the infrastructure. The infrastructure, I'm just going to tell everyone here right now, it's paid for. It's already paid for. That's what the whole Neblio thing's for. So that covers the infrastructure cost. That covers everything that we do internally, all our 365 and what other apps that we use in order to handle business internally. So there's nothing to worry about that. However, technical support of the applications and stuff like that, if people want to get stuff implemented into the wallet, it's something that, depending on, I guess, the size of what needs to be implemented, we're analyze it on our side, and then at that point decide whether or not that's going to be a project. If it's a project, depending on how many developers it takes, we'll put a spend prop outlined on what it's going to take, how many hours it's going to take, and what it's going to be cost-wise. Another thing I wanted to break down here. So just so people are aware, there's 730 hours, or if you break down the cost, the $150K across 2 months, it works out to $105 an hour. But then when you break that down across the number of people that are involved in this, it works out to $4.10 an hour. So $150K is not a whole lot of money when you stretch it over a span of 2+ months, between let's just give an estimate of 25 people that are going to be working on this. Let's say that, right? So.
No, it makes total sense to me. And I don't think, honestly, the 150K is the main issue people have. There was a lot of confusion about the ongoing stuff, and I got questions from people: are they going to pull the plug if we cannot pay after 2 months? That's basically their concern, right? And then they go let's stick with TFL because they've been running it at least. That's the main concern. But if you say that it's paid for, at least the ongoing hardware cost, let's call it like this, hardware traffic, that's awesome news. And I don't think everybody understood this till now.
Well, we looked at AWS as well. Actually, that's what me and B have been looking at over the last week, trying to determine on where we want to set up infrastructure. And albeit that AWS is great, there is some things inside of AWS that the cost-wise is not so great, not on a long-term scalability. So we are looking at other options. Cloud
can be quite a money thing, right?
Yeah. Well, the cloud is great if you want to scale stuff. It's just awesome for that. But when you start getting in the cost of storage, the cost of bandwidth, it starts to become really expensive. And considering storage and bandwidth are two things that we're not fully aware of what those look like, we're probably going to avoid going with AWS for now. But later down the road, hey, if someone comes in and injects a whack load of cash, we might consider it. But at this point right now, we want to provide an infrastructure that's got scalability for growth, but at the same time, it's not going to break the bank, right? So we want to make sure that we can sustain this for a long period of time. And there's also further down in this Agora post, I clarified that if at any point in time that the rebels can't do this infrastructure anymore, or we don't want to do this infrastructure anymore, we will reach out to the community, advise them of this, and work out a way to transfer it. over to someone inside the community that's willing to take on that responsibility.
Yeah, so that basically addresses the concern of some that say like the rebels are going to take over the infra and then keep it hostage, right? That's also something I've read all the time, like that they want to keep it hostage or whatever. So you promise that you will provide a smooth migration path for anybody who wants to take over at a given time if the community decides to, right?
Yes, if Terra Rebels decides to step down from the infrastructure, we will at that point work out a smooth transition.
Awesome.
Or if community decide that right through some sort of a proposal that, with the good reasoning or something that we are not capable anymore of maintaining it, well, then we just simply give it over, right?
Yeah, it makes sense to me. It's pretty nice way of doing stuff, in my opinion. Like I like to see it, to be honest. Can I ask one more question, Echelon, just to be sure, because that's also something people ask. If you are not going to use AWS and a cloud provider, may I ask how you're going to host your stuff? Like, are you going to rent dedicated servers? Are you going to put your own hardware and like co-host it somewhere? Like, can you say something about it?
At this point, it's looking like just some bare metal boxes, and we're going to spin up some kind of cluster, and it'll allow us to have scalability on that. I don't really want to go into too many details on it, just because every time you put an idea out on the net, someone comes along and then steals that idea and uses it to their benefit, and I'm honestly kind of tired of that. So once we release it, we'll probably give a little more insight as to how we did it, or I should say where we did it. But until that happens, it's kind of like we want to just keep that close to the vest right now.
Yeah, sounds fair. Sounds reasonable to me. Rocko, do you have any more questions on this?
No, I think Echelon's covered it quite well. I think the problem, not with this proposal in general, is a lot of sort of investors, they come in on a high level, including myself. Let's say they see, LUNC burn price is going to go up, and they don't really understand all the details. And people just like share wrong information that, oh, you can just change the prefix and it will work. But this team is asking for 150K. So I think the problem is that people don't, even including myself, is just don't understand the technicals of it. I know Echelon and Yogabba's tried to explain it a bit, why the prefix is not going to work, or is not the best approach from a technical point of view. But I think that's the community concern. I don't know if you have anything to add on that, Echelon or Yogabba, to make it simpler for people that are less technical.
I think it's better if at the end we simply answer questions, right? Because something what don't really sound technical for us might be still technical for someone else. So I think we just leave it like it is now. And if someone has some questions, we can happily answer them.
So I can see two hands up. We can bring them up if they have specific questions to this, and then we can move on to Fafi if that's okay, Rocko.
Yeah, we'll take those two questions and then move on to Fafi. So Lunc 880, we took a question. MOP, shall we bring him up? If it's a question for Yogabba and Echelon about the TFL infrastructure, go ahead, MOP.
If the Terra Rebels were to have enough and leave.
That's that. So if we left, who would own it?
Yeah.
So at that point, we would reach out to the community, or I guess the community would reach out to us one way or another. We would, I guess that would have to be decided at that point, right? Because that's I found that interesting as well, because it's been proposed that the community would be able to take it back, but I mean, who exactly is the community, right? That's just a generalized term, but I guess someone would have to step up, say, hey, I want to take this on, and then put up a proposal that the community would have to agree to saying that this person meets the requirements to handle that infrastructure. Because he wouldn't want to just hand it over to just some random dude that says, hey, I can do it, running it out of his basement, right?
Yeah. So you guys wouldn't like hold it to ransom and want another payment?
No, and also like
it was explained that in the transition phase there would be some kind of fee for doing the transition over, right? Because as you can imagine, we have to get involved in doing that transfer of infrastructure, right?
Yeah, sure.
Right.
But also
wouldn't be expensive, but
also like people have to remember we are not changing licenses on it, right? So it will be all the time under MIT license, so everyone can see this code and copy it whenever they want, right? We're not gonna make it a private repository and don't release our changes.
Okay. So
yeah, all the source code is underneath GitHub, and it's all got licensing behind it, so that puts it all open source. It's owned by whoever, the public itself.
Okay. One other question, which isn't to do with this, is: does anybody know how many Lunc wallets are staked?
That's probably possible to like query this data, but you can see how much Lunc in general is staked, right? I actually never really looked for it, but I know there is a community member, Asops. He has a very detailed website with many different statistics regarding wallets, so he might have it on his website or might be interested in actually researching it.
Okay, thanks. That was all.
That's a good question, MLP. We'll take one more question, then move on to Fafi. Yazuna, have you got a question for Yogabba or Echelon?
Yeah, I think so. Thanks for having me in the first place. I remember Duquan made a tweet on 20th of November saying, Cosmos Chain Core teams interested in station integration, please DM. And after a while, he answered with, yes, Lunc is supported. Why should we have or need a rebel station if we have Duquan supporting us with an upcoming station? Or is that completely off the table? And if it got nothing to do with each other, please tell me, because it would clarify a lot.
I don't know why he put that out so prematurely, because that was literally before we spoke with TFL. When we had the talk with TFL, it may have been that they just assumed that we would go forth with this. But after we weighed the pros and cons of it, we said there's no way we're doing it, right? Obviously, we wanted time to think about it, so we didn't tell them that directly right away. But all this meeting with TFL took place after that post. So no, without the prefix change on our end, currently as we know, the new interchange station will not have V1 support.
It's basically what happened. We got informed, he posted it, right? That's Lunc gonna be supported. And after that, there was information, well, if you want to be supported, you have to change prefix and basically break everything.
Okay, and one more thing I want to add. Wallet Connect will migrate to V2, and currently we're still running on V1. So please be careful. Thanks for your answer.
What do you mean it will migrate over? Because we actually have, we can just clone the repo for V1 if we need to.
Wallet Connect stated that they will discontinue V1 in May 23.
Yeah, let them. That's fine. Because all we're end up doing, it's just like that's just a JavaScript library, right? Just a package.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Yeah. We just clone it and then we'll maintain it through V1, and then we'll put the package out on our npm repo. That's fine.
Okay. Thanks for your answers. And next one.
Thanks, Yazona. I think I've asked this at Echelon before. The parity would just, so after Rebel Station, we won't be parity with Luna V2, but with other Cosmos ecosystem, we can still, the IBC and stuff will work. It's just with Luna V2, it won't work. Is that correct?
Only after we add an IBC support into Rebel Station. Of course, in order for us to add that in, we have to look at what that entails. and whatnot, and proceed from there. But yeah, and just so you know, like the whole thing with Terra Rebels now, we're on a paid model of work, right? So the IBC stuff will be put out as a spend prop to get that work done, right?
Yeah, so I'm assuming you'll be working on this, I think you said about 2 months, and then if the community wants the IBC, that will be after.
Yes, that would be after. That would be after. Looking at that Agora post that we made, we did put like mobile apps, desktops, finders, and ongoing technical support. I believe I would want to try and get at least the Android app out, and then get the IBC stuff working, and then we could worry about the rest later. For right now, I mean, some of that's functioning. We're held up on the iOS side right now just due to licensing, but on the Android side, I'm just waiting for the account to get verified. I've already paid for the license, and once that's done and this prop passes, then I can get to work on the Android app and push that out.
Cool. Thanks, Yogabba and Echelon. Have you got any final thing to say? I think that's all my questions, unless Lunatic wants to ask a question.
I don't think we have to steal more time from Fafi. He has a very interesting proposal to talk about.
Yeah, we'll move on to Fafi then. Well, thank you guys for coming and sharing the information. It's always good to hear from you guys because there's a lot of like Moonby talks and influencers like myself talking. So it's always good to hear from what actually is being built. So yeah, thank you for coming on, guys. And let's build something. You know, there's lots of people talking about doing stuff, but I think it looks like only Terra Rebels taking actions and building. So thank you guys, and I'm sure we'll have you guys on soon.
Yeah,
sounds great.
Thank you for having.
Take care, guys. You can more than welcome to carry on staying. And people that requested, will let you ask questions after to Fafi. Fafi, how you doing, mate? Apologies for keep you waiting.
Hey, yeah, I'm fine. Thank you. No worries. I mean, as you said, it's an interesting topic, so no worries at all. And I'm good.
Cool. We'll spend about 45 minutes, an hour on your proposal. We already talked about the introduction to your proposal, but do you want to just give a quick update now, and then we can get into a bit more details and take a few questions after?
Sure. So basically, for those who are not aware, the main concept or the main motivation is to be able to generate revenue at the protocol level, and to be able to refill the Oracle and community pool. We can also burn some of the supply. The idea is also to develop a strategy to make the platform self-sustainable, and finally to innovate in order to reestablish TerraClassic as a top DeFi protocol. So to keep it very simple, we have some very interesting infrastructure, DeFi infrastructure as part of our core protocol. And the idea of this proposal is to actually repurpose this infrastructure so that we can start earning some money and be self-sustainable and grow and develop ourselves by the time we can roll out some more updates and more strategic long-term vision.
Yes, and when you say we earn money, it's through fees. The money will somehow go back to the community pools.
Absolutely. So the idea is to have to borrow some funds from the Oracle pool, because at the moment the funds there is pretty much $60 million there, sitting idle, so not doing anything at all, just waiting to be distributed. So the idea is to borrow some of these funds, use them to provide liquidity, and in a DEX, obviously, which will be owned by the community, by everyone, or the token holders, if you want. And people who are going to be trading against the DEX are going to pay a transaction fee, and this transaction fee will be distributed to the protocol. So we can split it between the Oracle pool, the community pool, and we can even choose to burn some of the supply, the Lunc supply, if we wish to.
Awesome. And I've read your proposal is 50,000 for the community, the first part of the payment to have this built. Is that correct?
Absolutely. So basically, there are three pieces which are highlighted in the proposal on Agora. So the first piece is basically rolling out repurposing the DEX infrastructure. So creating what we call a core module, which is going to allow people to trade on chain. So against the protocol. So that will be a DEX. It also involves some admin functions. So because we just said before that you will have to borrow funds from the Oracle pool, so you need to create the code for that, which doesn't exist yet. And we will start also rolling as part of it a feature which is called concentrated liquidity, which for people who are familiar with Uniswap v3 should ring a bell. So basically, it allows in classical DEX, when you provide liquidity, you're passive. There isn't much you can do. You just put your token and you get and your token get traded against by traders. It's usually not a nice risk profile for the liquidity provider. In this case, we choose to go with a different or risk. A nice new feature somehow, which gives us more flexibility when we provide liquidity so that we can have less risk. And
yes, that sounds good. Just to clarify, so the initial payment, just for people that are listening, is only 50,000 to get the DEX built, and then there will be two other separate proposals for like the flash swaps and Terra indices and all that after. So the first thing to get started is 50,000. Is that correct?
That's right. Absolutely right. $50,000. And on top of what I just said before, you also get, well, it's open source anyway, but we're developing for that like a testing framework, which is going to be very useful for us no matter what we do in the future.
Yeah, that sounds really good. Again, I'm not trying to influence votes, but having something built on Lunc is quite important. So, I definitely support your proposal and hope it goes through. How long would it roughly take? I think you mentioned on the proposal. I can't remember the date you said it will take.
That's right. So for the entire thing, we are hoping to deliver everything in 2 months, and that first part will be like roughly half of it, so 1 month.
Awesome. That sounds good. Lunatic, have you got any questions?
Yes, mate. So I have one question, I think. Maybe it's more like for Fafi to clarify, or for Daddy. My phone keeps calling you Daddy for some reason. The autocomplete. So basically what you want to build for us is like, I don't know if everybody's clear about it, right? Because some people ask like, why do we need another DEX? We have already 2. They're working fine, right? Inside of the wallet. I use it every day. You can swap stuff. But yours is actually going to be on the protocol level, right? Basically built into the chain, so to speak. So it's owned by all of us. Can you like explain it or dumb it down a little bit, what that means? Like, I don't think everybody's...
Yes. No, that's a fair point, actually. So people say, why don't you use Astroport? So the concept, the business plan or the business model, of a decentralized exchange or an exchange, generally speaking, is to make money by earning fees. So you provide liquidity. So you have like a very busy marketplace, which means that people is going to attract people to trade. And people will pay a fee for you to provide this super vibrant and busy marketplace for them to trade. All right. So in DeFi or in a decentralized exchange, whoever earns the fee is the person or the entity which is going to provide the tokens to be traded. If you want, you can think of it this way: is that imagine you have a shop or you've built a shop. Right, and then you don't have money to put products to sell in the shop. Well, you can actually the liquidity provider is the person which is going to come and deposit the products for you to sell in your shop, and then he will take a percentage of your margin. So that's how it works. Now, we want to earn money at the protocol level because we're broke. We want to make developments. Like, for example, we have like Terrastation. We want to have our own infrastructure. We want to develop and roll out like a long-term vision, etc. But for that, you need money. And if we just keep spending without having a real plan to grow as well, to earn money, is going to be, I mean, cash management is key. And we need to be able, we need to not run out of cash before we can actually fully recover and revive the platform, right? So we need for that, because it's whoever provides liquidity who is going to actually earn the transaction fee. We want the protocol to provide liquidity. You can't do that on Astroport, right? You can't do that on any other DEX. It has to be implemented at the DEX level. Okay, at the protocol level. So it has to be part of the heart of the system, if you want, the platform. The same way that the peg mechanism, the previous peg mechanism, so swap $1 of Lunc for $1 USDC or vice versa, was part of the protocol. It was not like a DApp built on top of the protocol. It was really part of what we call the L1 layer. So that's why we want to write this DEX, because we want to have something which is going to make money for the protocol itself, to fill the treasury of the protocol. So then like teams can come and either apply for the community pool to build things, or we also want to refill the Oracle, because at the moment the Oracle pool is bleeding. It's just giving tokens away. And I think it's like 2 years is going to end. And then if we don't have anything, this at the moment is used to secure the blockchain, to basically reward validators. And if this ends, then the validators will simply move to another chain. So we will run out, and we will basically it will end the blockchain, if you want. So that's why we're building a DEX. It's a specific DEX. It's at the protocol layer. And the other thing as well is that at the end of the day, if we have other applications DEX like Astroport or else, it's actually fine, because the way DEX work, it requires what we call arbitrage to maintain the price in line. So it's actually even better because it's going to create some volume. So it's not necessarily a bad thing. It's not necessarily a bad, they won't necessarily be in competition. And finally, the last thing is that we are not looking to provide any sort of token whatsoever. We're going to focus, and we'll talk about that probably later. We're going to focus on very specific tokens and very specific products, which make actually the DEX not only a good thing for the protocol, but also quite unique.
Awesome, mate. I think you explained pretty well. Let me ask one or two questions, and then I think it would be fair to let 0x speak first, because he had some pretty nice questions about your DEX. Yeah. And afterwards, maybe we can take like questions from the community. I see Luke One wants to talk, and Luna V-Shape also wanted to ask stuff. If you guys are fine, we can move that to the end. Because 0x was here last week and we couldn't let him up because of technical issues.
I remember, yes, correct.
I'm looking forward to 0x's questions. LunaTech's been bigging it up. That is very good questions.
Yeah, I've only two more. Like, I want to make him tease something, because people are pretty excited about your prop. And I just saw in the Terra with Discord, people are already like choosing colors for their Lambos once you implemented it. So basically, maybe it's not clear for everybody who didn't research it. Like, you just mentioned Uniswap and V2 versus V3. Like, can you elaborate what the difference is in liquidity providing? Like, you explained that in one of the videos pretty well.
Yes. So basically, think about it. We're going to talk in terms of Binance. All right. So you have Lunc, you're on Binance, and you have like a certain amount of Lunc. So to make it easy to understand, think of it that Uniswap V2 forces you to put orders, so sell orders. If you have Lunc you want to sell, you can't just put one order at say 0.00017 or 0.00020 or between 20 and 30. It forces you to put orders all the way to $1 million. right? So what I'm saying here is that Uniswap V2 is an amazing piece of technology. However, it's extremely capital inefficient because that's just the way it is. That's how it was implemented, and it was already like great in many ways. But basically what it does is that it forces you to somehow put some, when you provide liquidity, you can think of it of, as we said, depositing tokens waiting to be sold. So you're somehow putting orders. And when you put an order, it locks your token, right? So if I put today, I take all my Lunc and I put an order at $1 million, right? It's going to lock my token. I can't access them because if in case someone comes and hits me. And basically, well, from today, it seems quite unrealistic that we're going to go and hit $1 million per token. So it's kind of, it forces me to lock tokens away just because of an inherent mechanic, and that's how it was. That's how it was made. All right. So that's one thing. The second thing is that, and that's also related. It also means that when in Uniswap V2, when you provide liquidity, when you want to put your token, make your token available to trade on the market, you can't choose actually. We just said it. You can't specify at what level you want to be open or closed. So think of it in terms of a shop. You say, I want to open at 9 a.m., close at 12, and then open at 2 p.m. and close at 5 p.m. Well, now replace the time by the price level. So you want to say, I want to be open between 17 and 30, and then I want to be closed between 30 and 50, and then maybe open above that, right? So you can't do that in Uniswap V2. It's a no or nothing. So it's very capital inefficient because it locks your token across like pretty much from 0 to infinity in terms of sell orders, right? Or buy orders. And two, which is also a consequence of that, is that you can't actually decide where you wish traders to be able to buy or sell at what level against you. All right. So that's quite annoying. And then Uniswap V2 came up with this new thing, which is called concentrated liquidity. So that's Uniswap V3. And this is a major game changer because it allows you to specify, okay, I'm going to provide liquidity between that price level and that price level. So all of a sudden, in Uniswap V2, I needed a lot more capital because obviously, as we said, we had to provide liquidity between 0 and infinity. So let's say in Uniswap V3, I can do the same thing. I can provide liquidity in Uniswap V3 and earn as much as V2 with $1 million instead of $10 million. So much more capital efficient. All right. So you can do much more with less. Okay. The other thing is that because you can choose the price level at which you want to actually provide liquidity, it also means that you can better hedge yourself or protect yourself. Meaning that, for example, when in case of when the DPEG happened, in our case for USTC, right? People were still able to trade against the pools because there was liquidity available because it's based on the Uniswap V2 using a V3. If you wouldn't have, if you don't put liquidity at certain level, then people will simply can't trade, and it kind of it works as a capital control mechanism. So that's pretty cool. So it allows us, it's much more capital efficient, allows us to earn more with less. B, it's used as a capital control mechanism. So that's Uniswap V3.
Awesome. So I think that was a pretty good explanation. Let me ask one more question, and then we move to 0x because he has been waiting all the time. I just want you to tease your. He's crying now. I just want to tease you with your long-term vision because if everybody who saw this diagram that you made, right, with the long-term vision, I want you to elaborate a little bit or tease on the forex and stablecoin part, because I'm from Europe, and when I first discovered Luna, like before the crash, I didn't buy in, but I was looking at the ecosystem, and I always found it nice that they have all these other stablecoins, especially like the Euro one. In my case, like I found it interesting.
That's right. That's right. So in terms of long-term vision, so personally, my background and the background of our team is in both. I mean, we've done mostly finance, so 15 years plus in front office, finance, etc., trading, development, and all. And we also done basically DeFi, and we're super keen on DeFi because we can see the potential. It's quite amazing, right? So we are TradFi guys who came to DeFi or to crypto first and then to DeFi, and we can see that it's just incredible what it can unlock and enable, right? So, and then furthermore, going to the DeFi space, when you look into it, so stable coins or coins with with a value which is pegged to a fiat currency, USDT or USDC, for example. These were, I think, we can say that they were invented or initially was like to avoid the market vol. So basically, when you're holding Bitcoin or you're trading Bitcoin, and then you don't want to be positioned in Bitcoin, so you want to exit your position, but you don't want to go to fiat. So you're gonna have this thing which will be able to store your value by the time you want to re-enter the market. So that's one use case for the stablecoin, right? So allows you to stay away from the market volatility that you will find in crypto when you wish to, right? Then there is another thing actually, which is quite amazing, is when you think about it, like the concept of token and basically that's even where it comes from, the concept of digital cash, right? The ability to have the equivalent of your wallet, of your node, of your coins that you have in your pocket, have this at the digital scale and level, all right? And then when you think about it, you wish to have like multiple currencies, or you would love to have multiple currencies. And basically to be able to, for example, for borderless payment, so to be able to transfer money all over the world. I mean, we're based on Atom, or even when you transfer Lunc is like super lightning fast. You don't have the issues of settlement, etc., because it's powered by cryptography, so that's pretty cool. And however, there is a gap. In this market, currently, there is a massive gap, is that, you don't have multiple currency, or at least it doesn't scale very well. So Tether has rolled up USDT, then they're rolling out EUDT, it's slow, etc., etc. Yeah. And then the other thing is that this, you don't really, what you would like to do, or one of the nice use case, I think, in my opinion, is like what you see, like the card that you have on Binance and all, whereby you would have like a balance, say, in a digital currency, and be able to spend directly. So this balance, you would like the token which is in this balance to have a relatively stable value, right? And then you would like to be able to spend directly all across the world, all over the world, using your card, a virtual card, for example. And so that's the kind of things we're interested in, and I think that's a massive business. And we always say like we need like $5 billion or $10 billion to recapitalize our platform, blah 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 blah. Well, okay, but this business is just huge and massive, and we have like an infrastructure which actually fits pretty well. And I think that was one of the original goals of Terra Luna, and that's why you also see that it's quite special compared to it was quite visionary, right, in terms of infrastructure and also a business model somehow, right? So, and then another thing is that obviously you want to, so for these currencies to be, for the price to be maintained, etc., and you want to have like a liquid market in it, you want people to be able to trade them as well. So you want to have like you want to be able to switch from the Euro Terra currency, so the EUTC, to the GBTC or GPTC. And for that, what we're thinking is that we need to, you need a DEX whereby you could trade, instead of having at the moment, you have DEX allowing you to trade, you have pool doing USDT versus USDC. Okay, yeah, why not? But I think much better will be to have like Forex digital FX DEX, allowing you to do things such as EUTC versus JPTC, etc., etc. Right. So in this way, you can see that what we're doing here with the DEX is actually somehow rolling the infrastructure to enable these things. These things meaning literally getting access to multi-currency platform, multi-currency trading in the digital world. That's quite huge, that's quite big, and we believe there is a lot of money to be made in there, and I think there is enough money to to recapitalize quite well enough our platform. So yeah.
Awesome, mate. Thank you. I think we can move on to 0x finally. He had like pretty interesting questions about it, and it would be nice to just let you guys speak about it if Rock is also fine.
Lunatic lover, you've set me up here with a lot of expectation. My questions are no better than anyone else's. I just want to make that clear. So, hey guys, it's OX Ears. I'm the CTO of Lunc DAO and a professional fudder of the Lunc blockchain. So maybe some context before I start. I think to extend the life of the Oracle pool by directing fees from various protocol-owned apps is a really good idea because we need to make validator economics sustainable in the long term without having to mint a bunch of new Lunc later on, and we need to keep the lights on. So, I mean, just to reiterate, in case anyone didn't know at the back, once the Oracle pool runs out, there is no money to pay staking rewards or validators. So without apps like this, Lunc is in trouble. It's this sort of like DEX module seems like a really good start because it gives you this immediate potential revenue source that you can weave the burn narrative into as well to attract that particular subset of degenerate users that we all know about and love. And I also think as a public good, it's really good value for money for that first app. So I just scribbled together a few questions to assist my understanding and help me convince Coach Bruce which way to vote. And we're going to do it in public because Lunatic Lover insisted that we do that. So the first question is, will you ring fence some liquidity from the Oracle pool up front? And in order to determine how much liquidity you need, what kind of volume and fees do you expect the DEX to grab? What is the minimum amount of liquidity you need for the DEX? That is my question.
That's a very good question. So basically, you can look into it. So let's start simple. You have roughly at the moment, you have like $100 million of volume, of trading volume in Lunc and USTC. All right. So if we can capture 1% of this, that's $1 million of trading volume per day. And if we charge 1%, we're making $10,000 a day of trading fees. All right. Now, that's one way to look into it. We are building tools to be able to make some more accurate simulation and predictions based on volatility and other parameters, etc. Yeah, we want to do like worst case, best case, average case, all these sort of things to estimate it. It also means that what I just said before, it makes it easy enough for everyone to kind of build their expectations as well, independently of us, so they can like compute or check for themselves. All right. And another thing you can do is, for example, you can take
Have we lost Fafi?
Oh, you can't hear me?
Oh, I can hear him.
Yeah, he's there. We can hear.
Where did I cut?
I think Wall Street Bet Trader has just lost your audio entirely as a Spaces glitch. I think Elon Musk has rugged us.
Oh, again! Can you hear me, guys?
I think we're good. Everybody can hear you. I think only Rocko might have issues. I can send him a DM.
Okay. All right. So basically, the other thing that you can do.
I think it might be just me.
Yeah, I think it's just you. Can you hear me, Rocko?
I think it might be just me. I can hear you. I can hear both of you.
Cool. So yeah. So basically,
it's okay. I'll join with another account. Fafi, carry on.
All right, cool. Yes. So basically, another way to look at it as well is you look at the pool SHIB ETH on currently on Uniswap V3, and they have like 1.2 million liquidity, and they do like between, I think yesterday they made like $600 to 1.5 thousand. $1,500 or $2,000. So I think personally, we can realistically. We could make using 10 to 20% of the Oracle pool, we could make $10,000 plus revenue per day. That's what we're hoping to do, and we're like in the process of showing you this. So hopefully we can start showing you this before the end of the bot.
Gotcha. I did a little bit of research just to see what trading volume is like in Cosmos today. I think the most popular pair on Osmosis is Atom Osmo, which takes about $4,000 a day in fees. And just for some context for everybody, the Classic chain currently fires out about $100,000 in Lunc a day to validators. So that tells you like the size of the hole we have to plug. I think that's quite important. So, all right, so like 10 to 20% of the Oracle pool. Gotcha. So where are we now? What's my next question? Here we go. Right. Have you guys built any protocols with a chunky TVL in the past? Are you first-time builders, or is this not your first rodeo?
Yes. So we've been building not in DeFi, right? So we've been in DeFi. We've been doing trading mostly, so not for over people, right? And then we've been building trading systems for like banks and hedge funds and all. So it's like, and then myself, I've been working. I worked at Starname, which is like used to be IOV, which is still on the blockchain, right? And the other guys, they do mostly ARB, so prop trading around DeFi, but we haven't built a protocol as per se.
Gotcha. Can you explain? So there's this flash loan idea. And to me, this sounds a bit like a just-in-time attack from Uniswap v3. So tell me if this is wrong. So you basically have a searcher who's waiting to see a large trade coming in to be processed. They add liquidity in a very, very tight range. Around that, they service the trade, and then they remove the liquidity afterward or within a single block, and they earn the fees on that large trade. Is that basically the flash loan idea?
No. So but basically that will be like the flash loan more towards so that's one of the usage you could do of flash loans, I guess, in Uniswap or a protocol or like as a user. In this case, what we mean by flash loan is just in terms of PNL and accountancy to isolate. So we want to give a bit of cash, leave it aside, so that the protocol can actually touch the pool. So people trade, and or maybe that's what you just meant actually. So, but not in terms of pulling the liquidity. So people come and trade like you would be happy. You say, oh, I'm going to buy some Lunc, boom. And then depending on your size order, as you know, is automatically gonna alter the price of the Lunc pool or the pool that you've traded, all right? And because we hope to have like few pools, so we would like to have like Lunc Luna, Lunc USTC, and Lunc Atom. Basically, it will create small discrepancies internally between the pools. So we want to do some sort of housekeeping, and we want to separate the funds used to that. So that's why we call it like flash loan. The other thing is that we want this to happen in the same transaction somehow. So basically we want to be able to roll it out or roll back it if the transaction doesn't result into the arbitrage doesn't result into a profit. To make it to actually make the parallel, this is the equivalent, or this is based on the mechanism. This is basically replenish pool. All right, that's repurposed. Replenish pool used to do that, yeah, but he used to do it between the Lunc USTC pool and the price from the Oracle. All right, so it wasn't between Lunc USTC and another pool. He used, or between Binance, he couldn't because it's obviously part of the protocol. Replenish pool used to basically arb its own pool, but against the price provided by the Oracle. That's also part of the problem that we had before, because it means that he never realized the PNL that he was doing. In this case, we want to basically, first of all, isolate, that's for accountancy, sorry. We want to be able to count exactly how much comes from what, so we don't want to commingle the funds between what you provide in liquidity and when you use to basically do the equivalent of replenish pool. And then the other thing is that flash, for the concept of it's a null or nothing, the transaction either goes through or does not. But it's basically just like housekeeping of your own pool, if you want.
Gotcha. Yeah. So in the case that, so like say you provide 20% of the Oracle pool as like the day-to-day liquidity, if in the event that's underutilized, would that be made free to do other things? Like how much would be sitting there in a constant range?
Yeah, well, exactly. So basically, that's an excellent question. So let's say we take 20%, all right? We're going to allocate 5% for this housekeeping that I just mentioned, and then 15% to provide liquidity, all right? Now, I think I don't know if it's clear or not, we don't want to provide liquidity statically. We want to basically be able to provide liquidity dynamically. So out of this 15%, we actually, one of the guys who works with me, that's his job, to write this strategy to how can we deploy the capital or the liquidity in the most profitable and the less risky way. So for example, we might say that we have $10 million, we're going to split it in 10, and we're going to deploy $1 million liquidity like now you have on SHIB-ETH that we said. And then when the price move out of the range, we might want to wait a little bit and then redeploy another $1 million, etc. The idea is that we want to try to maximize our profits while trying to alter as much as possible the balance of tokens which has been lended to us by the Oracle pool. So we want to not deploy everything at the same time at once, but be able to deploy it or redeploy it depending on the price moves.
Yep. No, that makes sense. So I think, so yeah, like just thinking about profit and the objective here being, obviously you don't want to get hit by impermanent loss. And I think you've kind of covered that to a certain extent already. I was always told when I was a young guppy and I started providing liquidity on Thor chain, on Binance chain, whenever that was, that if you're bullish on both assets you're providing, you should provide liquidity. Now, do we have to use USTC? Considering I think most sensible people, sorry if I offend anyone here, they're not bullish. Sensible people are probably not that bullish on USTC. But on the other hand, is it realistic that the community organizes to sell USDC from the Oracle pool? Like, I don't know if that's realistic for like another useful asset, like I don't know, anything else, something that we're bullish on. Do you see where I'm coming from? I don't really like providing liquidity between Lunc and USDC because I think USDC is pretty useless.
Yes. Okay. Well, that's. I see what you mean. Well, that's why we want to have this dynamic. First of all, that's why we want to have this dynamic strategy to provide liquidity so that you can reduce this risk. And then the other thing is that they seem to be, when you look at it, they seem to be quite correlated, but by block, by cluster. So they stay together, and then or one pumps, the other one pump. But it's also like how people trade this. So it somehow makes sense. And then you've got some project or some people who are trying to repeg or whatever USTC. So it's a way, it's a natural hedge in people trying to actually people trying to push or maintain the value of this token, right? So that's one thing. The other thing is that when you look in terms of and that's true, you said it, impermanent loss, it really looks bad when you look at it in terms of dollar. In terms of token, it looks less bad. All right, and we already have a lot of USDC. So in this case, you really have to think about it as usually in the crypto or DeFi literacy. When you look at the impermanent loss, you're making the assumption that I have $1,000 and I want to earn a yield on my $1,000, so I'm gonna go and buy Lunc and USDC, and then I provide liquidity, and then obviously the impermanent loss that you just mentioned now can literally destroy me, but that's in dollar value. In our case, we're in token value, so we can't. It's in holding. We already have like Lunc and USDC. All right. Of course, obviously, we don't want to end up with. We don't want to alter the balance too much, so to end up like selling too much Lunc and keeping only USDC. But on the other hand, from what we're seeing now, people are trading them. I mean, you can't also deny that we have like $100 million volume in this token, and some people are still believing them, and some people are still talking about repeg, etc., etc. So that's one thing. And Also, the other thing is that, as you know, the how do you say, the circulating supply is quite scarce in USDC, so it can jump, etc. So we don't see it as frankly that bad. All right, and we're going to provide like some more risk analysis, etc. for that, coupled with our risk management strategy. But we don't see it personally. It seems that it's not that bad. And even the other thing that you have to think about is that while you get hit by the impermanent loss, right, you also earn fees. So we have to see like how much these effects compensate. Again, in the crypto literacy, they show you only one side of the trade. So they only show you because it's hard to basically diffuse or compute the transaction fee that you're going to expect in the future. And so people most of the time only look at the impermanent loss because it's basically a closed formula, right? So you really want to look at both and to see that like. And again, that's another thing as well. We don't want to just do 0.3%. We're willing to consider, the transaction fee is going to be a parameter. And you might find out that with the right transaction fee, it actually compensates you enough for providing and coupled with the right risk management strategy in terms of liquidity providing, because it's going to be dynamically provided. You might find out that it might actually compensate you nicely, if not even make you positive in terms of earnings.
Yep. No, I think like there are lots. This is a pretty unique situation. Like I'm looking at parallels. I'm looking at Uniswap v3. I think for the most part, if you provide liquidity on Uniswap v3, you have to be doing this like just-in-time flash loans to be making money. There's been a few studies that have been showing like even with concentrated liquidity, you would have been better off hodling for the most part. But then again, that's because it's very PvP. Like in this case, who are you? There's not really anyone you're competing with. You're providing the base liquidity there, that 15%, and you're also doing the flash loans with the 5%. So it's pretty interesting. What else? I mean, you talk about stable coins, but I don't think we want to. That's like another hour conversation, right? I mean, I think like, maybe one from the community.
And actually, just to finish quickly, because obviously you don't like. I'm a big fan of Lunc, and obviously being the CTO of Lunc DAO, maybe we can start creating some love. Everyone's talking about repeg of USDC. Yeah, have we or have anyone considered like redeeming USDC? I mean, if like. You have $10 billion. So last time a guy told us, like in Terrastation Discord, that pretty much like all the old holders, etc., have moved. So one of the main old holder of USDC or holding is actually TFL, right? And then all the other people are people who have bought post crash, so at a very low value. So redeeming, meaning that if, like, the system that we mentioned, like a nice, beautiful payment platform, which would generate like few billions, etc., and stacking using USDC stacked against this platform to actually earn some of the return of this. And basically, because USDC holders are well identified. Obviously, we just said like pretty much 50% goes to TFL. They might be willing to even provide some funding on this platform because it's like straight away P&L, right? So if you can like redeem it at 30 cents or 20 cents or whatever, it's better than marking it at zero. So in this way, you can, it's not necessarily all bad, I think. It's not dead completely, I think. I don't know.
I think that there are a number of different plans, but I haven't seen one yet that doesn't involve via some kind of obfuscation or financial alchemy or new tokens, like, and wave a magic wand and here's $9 billion. You know what I mean? So I think USDC repeg is like, I don't know. It seems like
not repeg, not repeg, redeem.
Oh, redeem.
It's different. Redeem, not repeg. Basically, that you stack it to earn some revenue of, So that's different.
Give USDC a use case. Yeah.
That's right.
Got it. Yeah. Well, definitely. If USDC has use cases, then people will want to hold it and they will need to buy it. And now you have demand, which means that the two sides of your community DEX have demand for both tokens, which is probably pretty important. I had a question from the community. Will this DEX make Lunc reach $1? And if so, how quickly?
Well, yeah, we're all hoping. It's a massive trend. This DEX is mostly designed, as we said, to start rolling out nice infrastructure for us to build like some solid things on top. But the primary purpose is not to make Lunc $1, but to fund ways to actually make Lunc to $1. Right? So without money, we can't develop, we can't do nothing. And this is primarily one of the main use cases. On top of trying to refill the Oracle pool, is also to make the platform self-sustainable. I mean, just before we spoke about the infrastructure to support the infrastructure cost that we have at the moment, but which is completely supported by TFL. Right? So we are not self-sustainable. The platform is basically running at a loss and is maintained by the previous or still the current actually creator of it. So before making Lunc $1, we just need to be sustainable, right? I think we need to work in order, and that's what helps to get there.
Yeah, thanks to the community for that question. It comes up quite a lot. So, I mean, maybe just a closing thought, so I don't hog the whole thing. My gut feeling is like the whole idea of having a community DEX, generating revenue, that all makes complete sense. The only thing that bugs me is I see the Oracle pool more as like an insurance fund for the blockchain, kind of like in the same way when you're running like a perps DEX or like a centralized exchange, you have some kind of insurance fund, and like it's like there for the rainy days. It's there to sustain the chain. It's there, like we have to be super certain if we're going to use it for something like providing liquidity, where there's all kinds of risks and there's not too much of a precedent that I can see for this kind of application. I'm super nervous about that, and that is my only reservation. If there's any way to get liquidity other than doing this, I think we should do that instead. That's my gut feeling.
Yes, I mean, on the other hand, I mean, I completely agree with you, and you're right, basically. Yeah. So on the other hand, basically, there are two things here. Is if it makes you, or if it can reassure you. A is a sort of walk or die situation. You do nothing, you're dead. And you have to, you're going to die ultimately. And the thing here is that we're using like 10 to 20% of it. And of course, we're happy to start slowly, so that we can see how it goes. Second thing is that at the end of the day, we'll always have tokens to redistribute. So at the moment, you have USDC anywhere to redistribute, right? So if you take like, let's say that we do like 10%, and there will be 5% Lunc and 5% USDC. I think if you swap, when you look into it this way, meaning that you might end up with a lot, and it would be a lot actually of USDC that you would get if you start selling it, right? Due to the pool and the liquidity and how it works. You might end up with, okay, you've lost 5% Lunc, but you have a whole load of USDC still to distribute, knowing that you still have like a whole entire load anywhere of USDC to redistribute. So when you think in terms of token, I think is not that bad, right? It's not that bad risk, because if USDC goes to zero, you already have like, let me check how much do we have at the moment in terms of Lunc and USDC. Do you have the numbers? We're already positioned anyway in this two.
Yeah.
So it's like, wait, let me have a look right now.
I had in my head like 30% USDC or something, but I might be completely wrong. I can't remember.
All right, I got the number here. So you got like, so you got like 280 billion Lunc and 1 billion USDC, right? So that will be, all right. So that's basically, how much is Lunc at the USDC at the moment? It's like what, 0.2 or something like this?
What's the decimal places? 0.0.
So okay, yeah, exactly. So basically, right now, like let's say that you have like a 40-20, it's like 40 billion one and 20 billion the other. I think when you think about it, like we take 10%, and worst case scenario, we lose 5% of our Lunc, but we'll end up with more USDC that we started. It kind of, it's not as bad as if we are counting in dollars. That's what I'm trying to get at here.
Yeah, I think the other way, like, so on one hand, this is making the chain more sustainable. I'm going to pitch my own idea now, which is going to be very unpopular. I think another way so yes, you can top up the Oracle pool, but you can also slow the leak, right? And you know what that means? It means reducing staking rewards, reducing validator payouts to be less than whatever it is, like 20-something% right now, based on the number of delegators. And I think that is a proposal which is extremely controversial, but at some point it becomes required. If,
to be honest,
if you're generating, I don't know, like 10K in fees a day, which would be, I think, pretty outstanding. Like, that would be equivalent to osmosis. That'd be really, really, like, beyond outstanding, actually. If, then you need to, so you're going to have, like, Forex, maybe you've got, I think a perps DEX or something like that would be, like, let these guys gamble, and then put a burn tax on the liquidations and on the fees. This is like the other killer app that you could put on the Lunc blockchain. All these together, maybe you can get up to, I don't know, half of what we're currently firing out. At some point, staking rewards have to come down, I think. It's just tapering them, rather, maybe not a step. Maybe we don't just say, hey, they're half, get used to it. Maybe we have some kind of dynamic thing going on here, but I don't know. I'm just speaking out of my mouth.
No. I mean, I saw your tweets over there, and I can see where you're coming from, and obviously it's controversial, but it's also that you can see down the road where we can end up if we don't do nothing about it. So I see where you're coming from. Maybe it's a bit of both, but basically, even cutting or reducing the supply, you're still delaying the problem, right? So we really, and then the other way to look into it is that it costs us, or hopefully that the cost to build this is like 1 month of community pool, assuming not even by excluding like the recent prop which passed to increase like the amount of burn going the mint going to the community pool. So it costs you like roughly like, let's say, between 2 weeks or a month of community pool. All right. And then we can start slowly. We don't have to start and go all in like with 10, 20 million, right? Basically, we're trying to do like to implement our custom proposal with the custom handler, so that we can we'll have like hard coded in the code a hard limit of how much can get out of the Oracle pool, and we'll certainly get in touch with you to have an idea of that. It's going to be hard coded, and then you can pass it like a param change somehow, where you say, okay, I'm going to transfer 1 million or even 500K if you want it to the liquidity module. We see how it goes. We see how it gets successful. We see how the community, obviously you guys, LucDAO and the other, how you can make the buzz. And then if it works out, yes. If not,
Right. This reminds me of ThorChain. Like, they rolled out ChaosNet and they increased the liquidity cap over time. It's kind of like, in this case, you could show, okay, we're doing 200% utilization of the liquidity we've added. It's time to add some more. Like we're kind of maxing out what we can do, and then we just keep ramping it up. The other last point I'll make, and there are many points, but this is the last one, I promise, is this is strangely now reminding me of all the numbers around the Anchor yield payments, which were 20%, and they were being supplemented by an unsustainable pool, and they introduced a dynamic yield reduction sort of proposal. And I think the same formula could kind of be applied here. How quickly we replenish the Oracle pool versus how much we're spending out of it. But I'll save that for another time.
Okay, all right, cool. No, but that's a good one. Maybe for the next summer or...
All right, guys. Thank you very much, 0x. It was great to listen to you, as always. So shall we? I think Rocko cannot talk with us. He's like rocked. So I have to take over with my German English. So I don't know who was first. Like, Luquan had his hand up and Luna V-Shape. I don't know who wants to start. Like, let's just say Luquan maybe, and then my German friend Luna V-Shape.
Okay. Hi, everyone. So I wrote down a few questions, actually. So, Fafi, now say for the Lunc blockchain, right? We ended up getting a legal structure, for example, a law firm involved with the blockchain. Would you, as well as additional developers on this DEX be willing to KYC through this law firm just to hold you guys accountable in case anything?
No. Go ahead, do what you gotta do.
Why is?
I suppose what I'm trying to do. No, it's not that. It's that I think if you think in terms of, and I'm exaggerating when I say that, but we discussed
the
that
only
already
reason
before.
why I ask Fafi is because
go ahead. Yeah, I mean, we had discussed about this, obviously. Go ahead again.
Well, no, the reason why is because, hypothetically, say there's $90 million in the Oracle pool. I don't think the community would be comfortable, utilizing 15% of that, bringing it to $13.5 million to utilize as liquidity for this DEX if there's nobody held accountable for it.
No, I think that's one way to look at it. The other way is that, like in DeFi, code is low. So we're trying to actually make the mechanism or make what we're trying to do in terms of processes, in terms of development, in terms of risk associated to the development, to enforce them at the code level. I mean, to me personally, I don't like, that's one of the things is that DeFi allows to get rid of the middleman. It also allows to get rid of the lawyers and stuff like that. I mean, you might want to talk to lawyers to kind of understand their process and try to implement on-chain processes that automatically kind of replicate or hedges us against or solve the problem we're trying to solve, but
you're the one developing it, and especially when there's millions and millions of dollars, there's got to be
I have no
accountability.
interest. For 100K is like I'm literally losing money. Like what? You're gonna hold me accountable for millions? It makes no sense. I mean, you really have to think about it, right?
I'm not asking if you're losing money. I'm just saying, you're building a DEX for the LunaClassic blockchain. You're not willing to KYC through a confidential law firm just to hold you accountability, especially when there's millions and millions of dollars.
Accountability? Please define accountability.
Okay, so say the DEX launches, right? And then we send you $13.5 million to support your liquidity for this DEX.
You don't send me? I think that's a misunderstanding.
Well, listen, listen. This is what I'm saying. You, Fafi, I don't know your first or last name, neither does the community. We know you as 0x Fafi. We send your DEX that you are personally developing, $13.5 million for liquidity, as what you've been stating, right? Coming out of the Oracle pool from the community, right? The accountability would fall as, who's to say, for one, we don't know who you are. We don't know your first or last name. We only know you as 0x Fafi.
We own you SBF, right? We own you SBF.
Hold on. So, we send you $13.5 million and you run off with it, right?
You are not sending me. Listen, I think it's actually, I think it arises from a misunderstanding. I can see where you're coming from. You are not sending me any money, and I don't want to be sent.
Okay, so
money.
right? So where would you get your liquidity to support your DEX from?
Okay. I see.
Or the Oracle pool.
Yes. I see. So let me.
No, it won't be sent to us. It will be sent to the protocol. The money will be held by the protocol. It won't be held. We won't get that money.
Yeah, but it's holding the keys.
Right, but it's going towards it's going towards your project. Is that correct?
No. Okay. Let me. I can see the misunderstanding, and that's why. Okay, fine. So it's not a DEX as my project or as an application, right? What we're going to be touching here is what we call the protocol. If you want, we're going to add a module sitting next to the Oracle pool. And when I say the protocol is that the TerraClassic protocol has what you can call some bank accounts, right? At the moment, it's got a bank account which is labeled Oracle and which has $60 million inside. And you can add what we call modules. Each module can have a bank account. It's internal to the protocol. What we wish to do is to add an extra module, which is going to be used as a decentralized exchange, and it's going to have its own bank account to use to provide liquidity. And we wish to have, through governance, a way that you're going to vote and say, we wish to transfer $1 million from the Oracle bank account internally to this new module bank account. At no point in time, I'm going to have of course not. I would never want to have this, to be in control of this money. And you shouldn't give me that money or to anyone else coming from the Oracle pool, you know?
Well, if it's a project being developed, you know, there needs to be accountability for those that are developing it, right? So, I mean,
what are we talking about? No, what accountability are we talking about? That brings me back to my previous point.
Right. In case anything goes wrong with your DEX, you know, if there's
but what do you mean? You want to sue me?
Look. Guys, look. I think there's misunderstanding how the tech works, because this is like open source code, and basically when you implement the code and you get it through governance or whatever, and the code gets implemented, the code is there, right? Whoever, it can be some alien from GitHub. I can make a GitHub account and send that stuff. It doesn't work like there is no accountability like this, from my understanding. Like, I see what you mean, but it's not going to be like this. It's different than having like a smart contract project sitting on top of the protocol, and then I'm the owner. I've basically keys. I have access to the whole thing. That's not the case, right? So it's sitting right in the protocol. So.
And the code will be open source, so it will be there for everybody to see before it's implemented. You know what I mean? There's nothing. We're not hiding anything with the code.
Well, the other thing is that, and that's actually very, very important point. And by the way, if you want, we could spend some time as well trying to go through this concept, etc. Because I think it's important, and like how maybe sometimes looking at it, etc. It helps to actually see how it's done or how it works, etc. One thing is that the SEC told us that to consider a token to be like a security token, for example, is that whether or not it's got like a central team of developers, etc. Right? And frankly, that's one of the very few examples, I think, on top of my mind that I can see in TerraClassic, where it's beautifully decentralized. You have literally, like, you know, the repo which is here. You have all this piece of infrastructure, and you can basically, you have the governance, so you can put a proposal forward like we did. And if it goes through, you can write the code, and you can publish a PR, and then between the community members, you've got the core maintainer of the repo, you've got other people that can look into it. You've got, obviously, we just had like LuncDAO and other people who are knowledgeable, and also they can take a look, review. So it's truly, to me, is one of the few actually place in crypto where you really actually it's not just basically a private team with a private company trying to pretend to be like decentralized. It really is what it is, and therefore you really have to consider it as a whole in terms of the upside and downside and how it works as well. Basically, you can't just say like, okay, you're gonna build, then I want you to have like an entity, because then you change quite lots of things as well, actually, and which are not necessarily nice things to be changed.
Okay, so basically the answer is if we get a law firm to support the LunaClassic blockchain, you're not willing to KYC, considering you're developing
what do you call KYC?
And requesting $1 million from the Oracle pool from the LunaClassic blockchain.
Wait. I'm not. First of all, we're requesting 50K. That's a grant system. So again, you need to look at how it works, right?
I mean,
no
when
one
you were
says
talking
that you
to
need to be
0x
KYC.
years, when you were talking to 0x years, I mean,
it doesn't go to me the money
quite a bit.
It doesn't go to me.
But now that I'm bringing legal aspect into it, you don't want.
No, wait. No. No, excuse me, just 2 seconds. We have to be very clear. Don't I come from like Citigroup, which is heavily regulated, and we have like pretty much 2 months of background check before, like, you know, that's the #1 investment bank in the world. So like in terms of legal, I'm completely fine. I'm not 20 years old trying to run away from anything. But when we say, do you say KYC? I'm already KYC'd in the proposal that I put. And then accountability, that's 2 different things.
Okay, so who knows your first and last name? Like who in this community has your information? It's written in the proposal.
You didn't look into it. It is written, and I didn't want to say.
I could say and write a proposal and put my name on it as Davy Jones. Like that's one thing. It's not KYC.
I can do that. But KYC and accountability are not the same, and you keep mixing both, and that's important to be precise.
Yeah, no. When
accountability, if there is an issue in terms of money, you have to pay back. But
so
I don't want, as I said, for 50K.
Here's why KYC and accountability goes hand in hand, right? Say hypothetically, I build a DEX, right? Hypothetically, I build a DEX. Everybody in the community knows me as Luquan, right? Now, say I put my name on there as Luquan Davidson, right? That's not my fucking name. Sorry for the language, guys. I'll trim that down.
Okay.
So that's not my name.
What's the point?
And so,
what problem are you trying to solve? No, tell me.
Guys, can we
trying to solve?
If you let me speak,
can we stop this because look, Luquan, with all respect, but I don't think that it makes I don't think it makes sense, because what Fafi's trying. Look, let me explain what.
I was in the middle of an explanation. I mean, I was telling him why.
No, I mean that's fine. That's totally fine. I get your point. I'm just trying to explain that in this case, I don't think it makes sense because Fafi, what he wants to build is a core protocol module, right, for the blockchain. It doesn't require you to be KYC'd or to be anything to provide code, basically, right? If he was asking,
anybody could write a DEX and then put a backdoor in it, specifically for their own benefit, right? So, I'm asking, right?
Including KYC people.
Fafi, if you let me finish. So here's the thing, right? If you KYC through a law firm and something like that happens, right? Say audits go in, audits come back saying, hey, this is sketchy as hell, right? Who's the one that wrote it? Well, we're going to say what? 0x Fafi? And they're going to be like, well, who's that? And we're going to be like, well, I don't know, but they're requesting $1 million to support this project. You know what I mean? So,
yeah, I mean, I get you, but look, who did KYC for the staking updates, for the burn text, for that stuff? It's just not how it works because it's on the protocol layer. These guys basically would just provide the software, right? And then he's not asking us for the money from the Oracle pool, right? His code would ask, which is basically open source. It can be audited by anyone. And I think what alleged, I've read that in the Agora proposal by AE, alleged concern or alleged addition might be, would you guys be willing to audit your code first, right? Let it be audited by a third party so that the backdoor or whatever you're afraid of might not be in. But the other thing that you say, I don't know if it's really applicable for open source blockchain in this case.
I guess if I may add on top of it, and I think that goes into it, what I'm trying to say here, Luquan, is that you're gonna, to me, instead of wasting money into lawyers to KYC people, which is not gonna solve the issue you're trying to solve anyway, you might as well take this money and pay either I think we have is SCV security on our blockchain or a firm which can do security check and security audit of the code to actually get you the result that you wish, which is to ensure that there is no backdoor. That's what I was trying to get at. This doesn't mean, I don't want to get KYC'd or this or that. It's just that and we had this chat before, is that this thing lawyering up is not going to solve the issues that you want to solve in the first place. And I think it's important that we try to actually put in place the processes or try to do things which actually solve the issue. Being KYC doesn't prevent you from getting rugged. And we saw that just in terms of backdoor, as you said, apparently there was one in FTX. We know the guys, they're publicly known, etc., etc. It didn't solve the issue. What would have solved the issue in this instance is that someone would have, but obviously it was private code. So yeah, here it's open source code. And that you could actually spend your money or even make a request if you wish to against the community pool to pick and to choose your own auditor, right? And your own firm to actually review the code. And this is much more valuable. I mean, code is low and we have to try to sometimes it makes sense to do the things that we do in real life in the digital world, I shall say. Sometimes I think we can actually, that's also one of the challenges we want to solve, is to try to actually adapt our processes. You can't just transpose a real life process, which is I'm going to go and KYC, versus
it would be 100% confidential. Your info would not leak.
You misunderstood. I don't mind anywhere because I have to do background checks, etc. for work anywhere. That's fine. It's not that. What I'm telling you is that then as we discussed that, but looks like it's fine. You just want a KYC, no accountability, etc. And B, what I'm trying to say as well is that it's important that we actually solve issues. We don't do unnecessary steps or steps which don't add value or solve our issues. That's super important. And again, I think much better than spending money on a firm to KYC, spend that money on an independent audit or security company to actually review the code. This way, and it doesn't even have to come from me, because if it comes from me, you never know that, they've been bribed or whatever. You can literally, this is open source. It's available for everyone. It's visible for everyone. And that's one of the very positive and big advantage of open source code, is that anyone can basically take it and either review it himself or bring someone to actually review it. I think that's much more better and much efficient.
So you're developing a DEX, but you don't want to be held accountable in case something happens negatively with that
But
DEX.
if you audit, it eliminates the need for accountability. If you have somebody audit the code first, then you never have any problems before it happens. You eliminate problems at source. By going the legal route, you let the problem happen and then have to go chase somebody else. That makes no sense.
No, with the legal route, it gives you guys more than motivation to actually get stuff done with it, right?
What do you mean motivation? What do you mean?
So like Redline just stated, right? Literally, it would motivate you to do exactly what Redline has just stated.
Why? I don't understand. That's a grant. I'm asking for a grant. Why would a lawyer or whatever motivate me to do what I said I was going to do?
All right, I think we all got your point.
Say for instance, I'm in Ireland.
I just don't get.
Yeah, guys, I think it's getting I think it's getting kind of redundant now. Lucan, I got your concern. I think we all got it. Like Rafi said, answered it. He said he's probably not going to KYC to a law firm. He said he might consider getting an audit, right? Maybe he would add that to the proposal. I don't know. Maybe we have to add it or demand it, which I think it would make sense. He also brought it up. He's also a previous dev from TR. And I mean, if you're fine, Lucan, I would like to continue with Luna V-Shape, and 0x also had a comment on this, I think, if you're fine.
I also had a question about Rebel Station, but I'll let Luna V-Shape go.
Thank you, buddy.
Thanks, man.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak. Personally, I sometimes have, stomachache when people or protocols try to touch the Oracle pool, because this is the pool that keeps the chain alive, right? But I also am glad that someone like Fafi comes forward and tries to think about new ideas how to fund the Oracle pool. I appreciate that. The question is, like 0x years has mentioned already, I think in the best case scenario, it would take a long time until we would break even from the initial investment of liquidity that is provided by the Oracle pool until this liquidity is paid back to the Oracle pool by the fees generated off your protocol. Plus, there would be a single point of potential failure in your protocol. So these are my concerns with it, and that brings me to the question: why not go with a traditional approach of trying to get to fill the liquidity pools for your protocol? Why not create a governance token for your protocol generate so that your the fees generated are maybe partly going to the Oracle pool and partly going to the governance token, and then you pay out private liquidity providers with that governance token.
No, I mean, I guess you just give your answer yourself. If you create a token, people are going to sell the token. If we create an app, a DEX, an app with a token, we're going to sell the token, and whoever owns the token is going to earn the fee. That's the business model of a DEX. That's no money for the Oracle. You can't have it all.
Yeah, but you don't have to put 100% of your fees to the governance token. You could also say,
why shall I do that?
40% to the Oracle pool, 40% to the governance token, and 20% to the development of your protocol.
Why shall I give anything at all to the Oracle pool? That's what I fail to see, actually.
Yeah, aren't you doing that? Isn't that your plan anyways?
I think he meant Fafi, you had a speaking mistake. You said Oracle pool, but I think you meant the token.
Yes,
so he wants to provide
exactly,
the Oracle.
No. I mean, the Oracle pool is going to earn money because it provides liquidity, right? So that's a risk reward. So you're doing something, and therefore you get paid for doing something. If we do a DEX, which is an app like Astroport or whatever you wish, which is a separate app from myself, my team. And if we find like private liquidity provider, then the model shall go for them. It's not going to go to the protocol. I think what I'm saying here, and I think maybe if it helps, is that borrowing money from the Oracle pool was actually by design. It was not a way to bootstrap liquidity faster or whatever. It's precisely to actually earn a yield to the Oracle pool. That's the only reason for that.
I see, but it's also a risk for the Oracle pool, right?
Absolutely, and we try to keep it the risk. I mean, you need to quantify it.
So basically, the Oracle pool, so we are betting with the Oracle pool money, which is keeping the chain alive on a single protocol, on the well-being of a single protocol, right?
So what are the risks?
The risk is that your protocol is not gonna get the volume that you're anticipated, and that you're not generating the fees, and that you're not paying the Oracle pool back in 10 years.
Then we return the fund. We stop the operation and we return the money that was used to provide liquidity. Is the money used to? It doesn't exactly. So basically, you swap. So remember, in a DEX, you give something, you take something. So if you're gonna give Lunc, you're gonna take USTC. If you're gonna take Lunc, you're gonna give USTC. It's never like the liquidity which is provided. It's not like a one-way it keeps going. It's that you have like two pools, and someone is gonna fill one pool and is gonna take from the other pool, and so on and so forth. So,
but you could have a shit token in your
no,
DEX, right?
Well, no,
and then everyone is switching from.
No. That's why actually, and that's a very fair point that you're saying, and that's why we don't want to add tokens with the money. That would be super risky. I completely agree with you. So for example, imagine I take the money from the Oracle pool, and then I put Lunc and SafeMoon. All right? The risk is exactly what you just said now, is that someone take all the Lunc, for example, and leave us with SafeMoon, which goes to zero, and we're like, literally we've lost everything. That's the risk you're talking about. Now, if you look into the proposal, the token that we have chosen them very carefully. So we want Lunc USTC, and hopefully we also want to do Lunc Luna and Lunc Atom. You're not going to get drugged with any of this, right? So the only if people take all the Lunc and leave you with Atom, you're not getting drugged. Because that's, we're naturally...
And who's deciding on it? That's going to be in the code, right, before? And how easy would it be for you? So you need another proposal if you want to add any token?
That's right. We're not planning on adding. We're even potentially going to hard code it at this point. This one, right? So we don't want to. We don't want to be like we said it in the proposal. We don't want to be like a sort of osmosis where you can just come and open a pool. We do not wish to do that, right? That's a very specific type of a DEX designed to do something in particular, which is get some money for us to be sustainable and refill the Oracle pool. For that, we want to use or what we think, and that wasn't chosen. That was exactly to avoid, for example, what you said. But we choose this token is to avoid getting rug and any sort of issues which are inherent with provided liquidity. So we are just by choosing the tokens the way we did, we have basically eliminated this risk. All right.
That brings us back to the USDC question of years, especially with no one knowing what the road forward with USDC is.
That's right. So then that's kind of exactly. So you can say, so first, hopefully that's not the only one. I mean, we need parity, but we would like to do like Lunc Luna, Lunc Atom, and then you're going to have Lunc USDC. Fair enough. What we said before is that basically when you think about it, really is that you might have 5% of your pool in Lunc and 5% of your pool, of your total Oracle pool in USDC. Somehow, when you really think about it, the worst thing which can happen, which in my opinion is not that bad, is that you end up losing 5% of Lunc for a lot more of USDC, which you already have anyway. So at the moment, if USDC goes to zero, the Oracle pool value moves from $60 million to $40 million. You lose like $20 million, right? So we don't want that to happen anyway. We're kind of already like positioned in this sort of risk.
True, I agree on that point. That's a good argument.
Yeah. So, but that was a fair point, what you just said, etc. And these are very important because it also shows why you have chosen to do things the way we wanted to do. It was really like a choice. Going back to why we want to actually the Oracle pool to provide liquidity so that they can actually earn money, and then why we don't just want to add any token that we want is because of the risk of getting rugged, and that's why we also added this concept of Terra indices, because it kind of allows us to have a bit more tokens, yet to still have the same underlying tokens, etc. So everything was kind of designed to try to keep this risk at the lowest level, because we don't want to risk, as you said, like, you know, the Oracle pool is what keeping us alive. Sadly, you need to take a little bit of risk, because anyway, if we keep going this way, doing nothing, we're not going to survive. However, as long as the risks are well identified, well quantified, and potentially managed, that's kind of, you know, that's where you want to be.
But the philosophical question would be, why should we risk anything anyway if we know already that in the best case scenario of the well-being of this protocol, that it's not going to be able to fund the Oracle pool anyway? You see what I'm saying? But it's going to do its part, right?
Well. So there's two things. So that's again a fair point. I think is that we need to do some more estimation to see exactly how much we can generate, and it's going to depend a lot on the community and our ability to capture shares of trading which is happening on Binance, etc. on chain. That's one thing. The other thing is that this was mostly designed not necessarily to be like the end of the road or the end solution, but at least to fund us so we can do more. See what I mean? So you gotta go like step by step. You know, this one at the moment is complicated because the only way to actually earn or have money so we can do things is Binance, who is paying us. All right? They can choose from one day to the other. They can choose to cut. Right? They can say, okay, we don't want to burn no more. Boom, burn no more. If there is no money in the community pool, we're dead anyway. All right? So it's important that we kind of it's this kind of problematics, like, you know, what we said in terms of being independent, in terms of infrastructure, being independent in terms of funding, these are super important because if we want to survive and if we want to grow, we need to, be able to sustain such events which are not, don't rely on our own decisions, right?
And I have one final question. I think the success of a decentralized exchange in order to compete with a centralized exchange is highly dependent on the ability of providing as many options as possible for traders to use your platform. So you need to have multiple coins offering to switch around with, right? In order to be able to compete with a CX. So that brings me back to the first question. So if you have more coins on your platform, the risk of having shitty coins in there as well starts
Why do you say
increase as well.
Why do you say that the success? I mean, to me, the success of for example, if you take Uniswap,
So trading volume,
have like,
trading volume on your.
I think if you take the pair, like for example, BTC ETH, they're doing more like than centralized exchange. No, what I'm trying to say is that I think, to me, and the way I see it, is that the ability for this to be successful relies on our community, actually, on people. So on, like, you know, the noise that we make on Twitter, the noise that we make everywhere. And you know, if you can capture, like, if people trade what they're trading currently on centralized exchange, and we can bring these people back to us, right? To trade just the token, but the token which relate to our own community. We have a massive community. You don't have the Uniswap community, right? So Uniswap people, they're users. They come because they need to trade and they're looking for tokens. In our case, we literally leverage the community effect to actually tell to the people part of our community, which is quite big, hey, don't go and trade there. Come home and trade home, and plus it's going to benefit you. That's in a nutshell. That's in essence the idea that we're trying to do here, right?
Yes, and are you going to make use of IBCs and are you going to use wrapped assets, and what I don't know, what providers are you going to use of wrapped assets?
Atom and Luna at this point. That's certainly what we're looking at.
The Cosmos chain and in general, all native assets.
Well, exactly. So not in general, but precisely Luna, because we have a history together, and it makes sense because you have like a massive overlap between the holders of Lunc and Luna, right? And then Atom, because like our destiny, or somehow Atom, like the Cosmos ecosystem, that it makes sense, right? Then we don't necessarily looking at any random or any other Cosmos token just because they're from Cosmos, because then it changes completely the risk profile of what we're doing.
Blimey, lots going on. Maybe I was going to say something earlier about lawyers. Maybe the point is, just on that, is don't trust verify means we verify the code. We all vote decentralized fashion. You know, when you vote on a proposal and say yes, we are distributing accountability across the entire blockchain to everybody who's participating, and that's kind of half the point. If you bring lawyers in, it kills the whole point of DeFi. It's just nonsense at that point. It's no longer DeFi. It's now CeFi with a chain. And that's my view, and I think quite a lot of people's, but I won't dwell on it too much. Maybe the way to sort of frame the whole risk piece is, if you do anything with the Oracle pool, there will be some risk, yes, but it depends if you think the risk is worth it. So it's like, do we leave it there and do nothing with it? Or do we do something with it? I mean, this is as simple as you could possibly put it. I mean, like, if you do something with it, what is the risk of that thing? Is it a surefire strategy? I mean, there's no such thing. Is it something that's likely to succeed? Okay, that sounds good. Is it something that seems unlikely to succeed and probably isn't worth the risk in the first place? Then it's probably you shouldn't do it at all. So that's kind of up to the individual voter, whoever looks at it. What was I going to say before all of this nonsense? I can't remember, but that's kind of the essential points.
So are we going to see more, Fefi? Are we going to see more on this for the individual voter to cast their vote better, like a business case thing, like maybe a calculation on a best case, worst case scenario, so we can vote better.
So maybe before Vafi jumps in, something he hasn't said yet, I think, in this interview, IMA, which I think is really important, is the majority of this code is already in place from before, right? So TFL wrote a very large chunk of this code already, and it kind of worked.
Absolutely.
So it's like, what changes are you making to the code? And can we get someone to audit this? Obviously, we should. Like, this is like, don't trust anyone in DeFi. Like, as a baseline, we should obviously audit the code. Or maybe we should reiterate this more. Like, whenever we go into this stuff, don't trust me. I'm just a dude with a bird picture, obviously, right? With a hat. Don't trust me. Don't give me any money. Trust the code and audit the code. And if it's already kind of in place, all right, well, it's easier to audit now. On Terra 2, we have SCV just got 900K from the community pool to do ongoing audits of various Terra infrastructure and the stack and blah, 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 all the rest of it. So, he knows the architecture of the whole thing pretty well. So he's like my first, I'm going to shill him.
That's right.
Or SCV.
That's right. No, I think that's an excellent point. Actually. And it also highlights, sometimes people don't understand validators, why, etc. They also provide some very interesting service. I mean, there's a whole economy around this, and it's really cool. And basically, in the proposal or in the Agora, we said that the only thing that we said is that, of course, we want to audit. We didn't include the cost because we're gonna basically go and see SCV. Or we started to inquire basically for SCV. That's the one we wanted because, as you said, they're familiar with the code, and I think it makes a lot of sense. And they're also the one who helped Terraclassic, for those who are not aware. They did also the audit when we reopened governance. So we like them, obviously, in Terraclassic. And I just said that we will the cost will be additional because it makes no point for me to charge this cost. I'm not going to take you 10% or 20% on what SCV is going to do. So you might as well split that and leave it aside, and then you can ask from the community pool and say, oh, we want that much money to basically do the security audit. That's pretty much it. But yes, completely agree.
And back to my question, are you going to provide a best and worst case scenario calculations for voters?
Basically, yes. So we're working on this, and we're going to provide some, at least some tools and some scenarios right now. Yeah. But the other thing, and I think that's very important, is that scenarios are still scenarios at the end of the day. And I think one thing which worked well with the burn tax is that people were able to compute or calculate their own number. So I really invite people to basically go and check and see, for example, you have the pool ship ETH, which take 0.3% fee with $1.2 million liquidity on Uniswap V3, which is currently making between 600 up to 2,000. It depends on fee per day. So we're going to provide some data, but I really invite people because, again, it's decentralized at the end of the day, but it's going to be your vote, etc. So do your own research and don't hesitate to ask questions. We have a very nice thread on Agora where we talk a bit about this, and I've posted basically the images or some of the data in terms of how much we think we can earn, or trying to explain how much, what are the risks in a simple, easy way to understand for people, including risk of getting hacked and all these things, etc. So I really invite you guys to DYR, and we'll try to provide, of course, we're always happy to provide as much data that we want, but you have to be, this does not necessarily, you always still have to, I think what's very good here is that you can easily come up with your own numbers or try to come up with some sort of rational numbers, which make you actually believe and support the idea by yourself rather than blindly following us because we provided this or this piece of information.
All right, thank you.
And then the other thing, the other thing you were saying about attracting people to use our swaps, we could adjust the fees to make it more profitable to use our swap than to use CEX swaps. So there's more than just having tokens to attract people to use our swap mechanism.
But that's right. We the swap fee. So how much you pay in transaction fee whenever you swap, this is going to be a param. So you can change it by governance again. It's param change governance proposal, sorry. And all these parameters, they're going to be changeable. That's usually how it is done in Cosmos or in Terraclassic or in current code base. That's how these things are currently done anyway. So it gives us, and again, that's also what brings value and utility to Lunc, is that it allows you to vote, it allows you to basically decide on the future of the platform. And that's why it's also important to build things at the protocol level, because the more valuable this protocol is, and somehow the more valuable your tokens are going to be. So,
just one last question. You're going to offer Luna, right, as well? So that's not gonna be a native asset on our chain. That's probably I assume that's gonna be wrapped. And who is going to be the provider that is ensuring the peg to Luna?
So peg, no. What I was thinking is that what we are thinking is providing like one-off or some sort of admin function. Like again, as we said, that we want an admin function which allows you like to transfer an amount of token from the Oracle pool. In this case, like you would have like an admin function allowing someone to come and to swap Luna for a quantity of Lunc, right? So that's an admin function, and you can imagine that this will be done. We could request actually the swap against the community pool or whatever from Luna V2, and basically say that we would like to exchange some of our Lunc or some of our USDC versus some of the Luna. So that's going to be something.
So we will have the native Luna token on LunaClassic. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, absolutely, yes. But that's what the parity, the V23 upgrade that we are gonna get, or that's what the developer have been working on, and it allows to, by opening Lunc or TerraClassic, it means that you can have access to the tokens directly into TerraClassic. That's one of the beautiful features, by the way, of the Cosmos ecosystem, is we don't need bridges. We have what's called IBC channels, and that's really cool.
All right, because otherwise that would be a point of failure or a risk, right? If we had a wrapped token in there.
What? Sorry.
Just saying that if we would have a trading pair with a wrapped token, a non-native asset, that would be a risk, an additional risk layer to the protocol.
No,
right.
Luna Atom USDC. That's it. Hello?
Yes, I hear you. All good. Thank you for answering my questions. I think I want to hand over. I don't want to take all the space.
Awesome, thank you, mate. I'm getting like messages from Rocko that his girlfriend is pretty much getting angry at him for running this way too long today. Let Matt ask one last question, and maybe Luke one if it's really quick, Luke one, and then.
I can listen to most people apart from Fafi for some reason. I can listen to all the other conversation. It's very annoying. I had a few questions for Fafi and 0x myself, but yeah, I couldn't get involved. But yeah, we'll round up then. Did you? So what? I can wait 5 more minutes. Who wanted to ask the last question?
Go ahead, Luke. You were before me.
Yeah, mine will just be quick. So, Redline and Fafi, you guys said that if fees needed to be reduced, they could. How would that be possible? Is it a sort of governance or?
Can you repeat, please?
Yeah. So Redline was saying that fees would be able to be reduced. How would that be possible if you guys don't hold the keys?
Governance with what is called a param change proposal. So it's a specific tip. Basically, that's the same proposal that we did to change the value of the tax, right? We changed the parameter from 1.2% to 0.2%. Here, that's the same. You can do. We're gonna have the same thing.
Gotcha. That's the end of my questions. I'll let Matt go ahead.
Good.
Right. So real quick, sorry, I kind of tuned in a little bit late, but for the DEX, man, who's going to be the initial liquidity provider for this DEX?
Oracle pool.
Yes.
So your plan is to pull money from the Oracle pool?
That's exactly. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, I can hear you, mate.
So that's gonna be the Oracle pool. So basically, it's not the initial liquidity provider. By the way, it's gonna be the only liquidity provider. right? So we want to borrow some funds from the liquidity, from the Oracle pool and use them to provide liquidity. And if you miss the beginning, maybe it's worth reminding you, because you might have missed this part and it might actually worry you. This is a DEX which sits at the protocol level. That's not an app. That's not on a layer 2 level. That's something which is, it doesn't belong to us. It doesn't have a token. It's part of the core protocol, just like the peg mechanism of USTC was part of the core protocol, right?
So have you been in talks with TR or any other entity to try to, pull money out of the Oracle pool, like to write the code for that?
Well, yeah, we're writing the code for that, right?
Yeah, because from my understanding right now, we don't have a way to do that. So that was, I was wondering if y'all were handling that.
Yeah. So, yeah, go ahead, sorry.
And also, is anybody on your team going to KYC pulling that amount of money out of the Oracle pool?
Yeah, no, the money stays in the protocol. It doesn't go to us. All right, no one is gonna pull the money from the Oracle pool. It's gonna be like an internal. It's like you transferring money between two of your bank accounts. All right. So
no, I understand. I just think the community, would appreciate having someone on your group KYC'd instead of, voting yes on a proposal to give $1 million to a guy named Faffy.
Hey Matt,
so
I think we had exactly that discussion already.
Well, yeah, I think we had that already.
Whose name would be on that bank account?
Hey, I'm sorry,
bank
I just
account.
got there, man.
No worries,
Faffy,
man.
whose name would be on that bank account that Faffy's speaking of?
It's at the protocol layer.
There's no bank account. The protocol will hold all the assets. That means all of the assets are under community control all of the time. They never enter my control, Faffy's control, anybody's control. It's community owned all of the time and community controlled.
I would like control of the assets if that can be arranged.
It's all yours, ears.
Awesome, guys. That was a great roundup at the end. Nice. So, shall we end it here? Rocko, are you still there?
Yeah, I could hear some conversations, but yeah, thanks everyone for joining. And Lunatic, thank you for.
I think he might be still rugging.
Sorting it.
All right, guys.
I'm gonna go eat some food. Good night.
Yeah, do that, mate.
Well,
thanks everyone for joining. Faffy, thanks very much. Lucan, Matt, Redline, and 0x. Ashley, thanks for coming again. And Luna V-Shape, my German friend, Echelon, Yogabba. And see you all next time, guys. It was pretty fun.
I'm gonna sleep, guys. You kept me like 4.
Good night.
Awesome, mate. Have a good one.